Good morning, everyone. Today, we are going to discuss The Merchant of Venice, Act 4, Scene 1, lines 241 till 289. Now, students, let's see the objectives first. By the end of this video, you will be able to learn the explanation of lines 241 till 289, learn the meanings of difficult words of lines 241 till 289, and learn the literary devices of the lines 241 till 289. Now students, earlier we have read that Shylock is happy and is referring Portia as a Daniel. Shylock is offered thrice the money, but he refuses it. Portia also asks him to be merciful. Now students, let's read the lines 240 till 243. Shylock, when it is paid according to the tenor. Students, here it is the payment of bond, and tenor means the strict wording and meaning of the terms of the bond. Now students, here in these lines, Shylock says that he will definitely tear the bond, but only after the penalty has been paid. Next, it doth appear you are a worthy judge, you know the law, your exposition hath been most sound. Students, exposition means understanding of the case and sound means strong. Now students, Shylock further begins to praise Portia for her wisdom. He says that Portia seems to be an impartial judge who knows the law, understands it and applies it effectively. Next, I charge you by the law, whereof you are a well-deserving pillar. Proceed to judgment by my soul, I swear. There is no power in the tongue of man. To alter me, I stay here on my bond. Students, here pillar means supporter. And students, well-deserving pillar is a metaphor here. This means, here Shylock says that Portia is a well-deserving pillar. Students, here well-deserving pillar is a metaphor. The metaphor is that of a strong pillar supporting a building. Shylock says that Portia is an equally strong supporter of the structure of the law. Proceed to judgment by my soul. I swear there is no power in the tongue of man to alter me. I stay here on my bond. Now students, then Shylock begins to request Portia to let the proceedings be continued. He then clearly states that no one's talks are going to change his mind and therefore he only wants the verdict. Let's read the gist of the lines. Shylock says to Portia that taking 3 times the amount and tearing up the bond is not justified. He will tear up the bond when it is paid. He says, indeed Portia seemed to be a worthy judge, knowing the law and administering it most soundly. He further says that he directs Portia in the name of the law, of which he, as a lawyer, is so worthy a member to proceed to execute the judgment. He swears by his soul that nothing that man can say will change his mind. He insists on having the strict terms of the bond. Students, let's read the next lines. Antonio, most heartily I do beseech the court to give the judgment. Students, here most heartily means with all my heart. Beseech means request. Now students, here Antonio sincerely requests the court for the judgment. Portia, why then? Thus it is. You must prepare your bosom for his knife. Students, why then means well then. Bosom means heart. Now students, here Portia asks Antonio to be ready for paying the penalty. And what is the penalty here? That is 1 pound of Antonio's flesh. Shylock, O noble judge, O excellent young man. Students, here Shylock feels happy and calls Portia a noble judge and excellent young man. Let's read the gist of the lines. Antonio says that with all his heart, he requests the court to give its decision. Portia, then tells Antonio that he must prepare to have his bosom cut by the knife. Shylock gets very excited and calls Portia a noble judge and excellent young man. Next lines 253 till 257. Portia. For the intent and purpose of the law hath full relation to the penalty, which here appeareth due upon the bond. Now students, here intent and purpose means meaning and scope. Hath full relation to means fully applies to. Students, here Portia states that the law fully authorizes the penalty, which means the meaning and scope of the law has complete relation with the penalty. Next, Shylock. 'Tis very true, O wise and upright judge. How much more elder art thou than thy looks? Students, here elder means wise. Here students, Shylock is now rejoicing and praising Portia for her intelligence. He says that Portia is much more wise than her appearance. Let's read the gist of the lines. Portia says that the meaning and scope of this particular law covers such a penalty as is incurred by this agreement. Shylock gets happy and says that it is indeed true. He calls Portia wise and upright judge. He says that the lawyer's wisdom is greater than one would expect from the youth. Next lines 258 till 262. Portia. Therefore, lay bare your bosom. Now students, here bare means undress and bosom means heart. Students, here Portia says to Antonio to undress his bosom, that is his heart or chest, and prepare himself for knife. Shylock. His breast, so says the bond, doth it not, noble judge? Nearest his heart, those are the very words. Now students, here Shylock asserts that the contract says that it should be his chest, and the exact words are nearest Antonio's heart. Portia. It is so. Are there balance here to weigh the flesh? Students, here balance means scales. Now Portia asks Shylock if he has the balance to weigh the flesh and if Shylock is ready with the weighing scale. Let's read the gist of lines. Portia then tells Antonio to uncover his bosom. Shylock agrees and says that it must be his breast. That is what the bond says. He then looks at Portia and says, does it not, noble judge? Nearest his heart are the exact words. Now Portia replies, it is so. She asks if there is weighing machine there to weigh the flesh. Now students, next lines. Shylock. I have them ready. Now he opens his cloak and takes them out. Now students, in reply to Portia, Shylock says that he is ready. Then what does he do? He opens his cloak and takes out the balance. Portia. Have by some surgeon, Shylock, on your charge, to stop his wounds lest he do bleed to death. Students, here have by means arrange. On your charge means at your own expense. Now students, here Portia says that he must call for a surgeon and also pay the fees of the surgeon in order to prevent Antonio from bleeding to death. Shylock. Is it so nominated in the bond? Nominated means specified. Now Shylock then says that he cannot find the reference of any surgeon in the bond. Let's read the gist of lines. Shylock replies that he has it ready. Portia tells Shylock to arrange for a doctor to be there at his own expense to stop the flow of blood from Antonio's wounds. Otherwise, he will bleed to death. Shylock asks if it is laid down in the bond that he must arrange the doctor. Next lines. Portia. It is not so expressed, but what of that? It were good you do so much for charity. Students, here charity means kindness. So Portia says that it is not mentioned in the bond, Yet he must do it out of charity, out of kindness. Shylock, I cannot find it. 'Tis not in the bond. Now Shylock then again says that he cannot find it in the bond. Portia, you, merchant, have you anything to say? Now Portia asks Antonio if he has anything to say now. Let's read the gist of lines. Portia says that no such condition is laid down, but it does not matter. It is good that Shylock should do such an act of kindness. Shylock refuses and says that he can find no such condition in their agreement. Portia asks Antonio if he has anything to say. Now next lines. Antonio, but little, I am armed and well prepared. Students, here armed means ready with spiritual strength. Antonio here says that he is well prepared to pay the penalty. Give me your hand, Bassanio, fare you well. Now students, Antonio then shakes hands with Bassanio and bids him goodbye. Grieve not that I am fallen to this for you, for herein fortune shows herself more kind than is her custom. Students, grieve not means do not be sad. Fallen to means incurred. And fortune is a personification here. Students, here Antonio then tells Bassanio that there is no need to be sorrowful. He says that fortune indeed has been very kind to him. Now students, fortune here is personified because fortune here it is referred as herself. So it is personified here. Let's read the next lines. It is still her use to let the wretched man outlive his wealth, to view with hollow eye and wrinkled brow an age of poverty, from which lingering penance of such misery doth she cut me off. Now students, here use means habit. Outlive his wealth means live to see the ruin of his possessions. An age of poverty means poverty-stricken condition. Lingering penance means prolonged suffering. And she, as I told you, that she here is a fortune and that is personified. So she here is fortune. Cut me off means spared me. Now students, here Antonio says that it is the usual habit of the goddess fortune to let a bankrupt man live the misery of poverty till his old age. However, fortune has been kind to him by saving him from such misery. Let's read the gist of lines. Antonio replies that he has very little to say. He says that he is armed with spiritual strength and prepared for this. He tells Bassanio to give his hand. He wishes Bassanio farewell. He tells Bassanio not to grieve or be sad that Antonio has incurred this for his sake. Then Antonio believes that in his case, fortune has treated him very kindly than she usually does to men. It is often the custom of fortune to let the wretched man live on after his wealth has been lost, so that his hollow eyes and wrinkled face show forth his poverty-stricken condition. From such a prolonged misery, fortune mercifully has cut Antonio off. Let's read the next lines. Students, commend me to your honorable wife. Tell her the process of Antonio's end. Say how I love you. Speak me fair in death. And when the tale is told, bid her be judge whether Bassanio had not once a love. Now students, here commend means convey my respects. Process means manner. Speak me fair means speak well of me. Love means a truly loving friend. Now students, here Antonio says to Bassanio to talk about him to Portia and let Portia be the judge and decide if Bassanio ever had a lover, that is loyal friend. And when the tale is told, let Portia be the judge whether Bassanio had not once a love, that means true friend. He tells Bassanio to let Portia know how he died and then let her judge if Bassanio once had a true friend or not. Next line, repent, but you that you shall lose your friend. Students, here repent means regret. Now, he further tells Bassanio that he need not be sad about anything except the fact that he is about to lose a friend, as his friend Antonio is not feeling bad about paying his debt. Now finally, he concludes by saying that if Shylock cuts his chest deep enough, then Antonio will truly pay the penalty with all his heart. Students, let's read the gist of lines. Antonio conveys his respects to Bassanio's honorable wife and tells him to tell her the manner of Antonio's death. Antonio further says to Bassanio to tell Portia how greatly he loved Bassanio and speak well of him after he is gone. He says when Bassanio has told Portia everything, he must ask her to say whether Bassanio had not a truly loving friend. He tells Bassanio that his only regret should be the loss of a friend, for Antonio has no regrets in making his sacrifice for Bassanio. He says that if the Jew cuts deep enough, it will be quite true to say that Antonio has paid the debt with all his heart. I hope you all have understood these lines. Now students, you have to do the homework that is given in your SNAP homework. Thank you.